So let's just go over some of the things to do to get involved. Of course, there are some of those things that people will always mention to you, the usual suspects. If you're a coder, you can write a mod or style to the customization database. Submit a patch to the development team was discussed this morning. Really a way of helping directly with phpBB development. Contributing to the development wiki. I actually think a lot of people still are not quite aware, but that development wiki is there, especially now that they're moving back to MediaWiki. Thank you. Contribute to it. This is a way that we can really help people to have information about how they can really take advantage of phpBB. Go to the IRC. IRC channels are too quiet. Offer some advice. Get to talk to some friends and stuff. If you have interest in the team, the QA team, or as we've sometimes called it on the podcast, the Quack and Assassinate team, the quality assurance team always needs help. And how hard is it to actually work with the QA team? Someone who's actually part of the teams. Tell me, what's the big commitment with the QA team? Because I've never been on it.
Very little?
We ask that every bug be verified by one person before we make a release.
Every bug is verified by one person before you make a release. And how long was your last release? Ago?
We had
months ago? March? April?
March.
Yep. So if you're
on the QA team, you've had a long vacation. Congratulations. So apply for it, and the more eyes you have checking the quality of the software, the better you can do. Junior mod validators. I think this is such a great thing to get more people helping out with the mod team. I wish we had junior mod validators when I was on the team 4 or 5 years ago. Junior developers is another thing that has been mentioned. It's not being used quite as much, but if you think you have some chops to be able to contribute, probably one of the best things to do now that the development team is asking for patches, start submitting some patches and work your way up to become a junior validator. All these have progression, and I don't think the styles team has junior style validators, but I'm sure there's a way to get in there as well. But if you're not a coder, and I think this is something that was asked at the discussion panel, help others out. Offer support. I mean, there is no support question. There is a support question that someone else is able to answer. Even if you have maybe a few weeks or maybe a month or two of experience with phpBB, chances are you can help someone figure out how to upgrade or how to install a brand new phpBB, or if you're having some common problems. Heck, if you've just read the documentation, you probably already know more than half the users on the support forum. Contribute to the bug tracker. And as has been noted, making any kind of a ticket or issue is what will get it in the developers' minds, but this is all things that can help everyone in the community. Offer feature possessions. I don't know why I wrote RFPs. I think it should be RFCs. I thought P stood for proposals, so RFCs, Area 51, go on there. It's great. I love reading those. I submitted one yesterday, but it was just for fun, and I think it was deleted. Henry. No worries, I was expecting that. And of course, this has paths to get you, if you're interested, the support team, the moderator team. You don't have to join the teams because really having a big orange badge doesn't make your support any better or worse than before. Sorry, every support team member in here, but your support is not necessarily better because you have a big orange badge. If you are a developer, start thinking outside the box, and I think this is something that has been mentioned a couple of times today. We need bridges. It's something we were talking about at OSCON. This was mentioned in Sam's OSCON post, but we were talking about one of the ways phpBB is going to be able to expand is to work with other projects that people are using. If we're concerned that phpBB is declining because of the rise of blogs and Facebook and Twitter, start making it work with it. Find new solutions. Think outside the box. Anyone can guess what this is? Converters. I googled for metamorphosis, which is your classical conversion, and this is another way of I'm sure there's a lot of other softwares out there that can work with phpBB. Think about it. Something that really needs a lot more development. We started this last year, but I think it's kind of dropped off a bit. Come on, let's get some more CAPTCHA plugins. This is how we help everyone relieve spam and really try to diversify what is out there, which really helps everybody. Probably one of the best ways you can make an impact right now. It takes a bit of work, but give it a try. How many people in here speak more than one language? Pretty much everyone outside of the United States, I'm sure. Maybe some inside, but yeah. The old saying, if you speak 3 languages, you're trilingual. 2 languages, you're bilingual. 1 language, you're American. I'm sure there's a language that has not been written for phpBB. It's not hard. You don't have to worry about the PHP code so much. I've seen it. I would write one if I could speak more than just English. I'm sorry. Start or join an international support site. I'm sure there's not enough international support sites. It is, again, not that hard to join, and phpBB is there to help you out. We just saw the demo. Titania is already available for you. And if you think that if the languages you speak already have a language pack, I guarantee you there is a popular mod that does not have support for your language. And mod authors need help to really be able to expand their reach. When I had mods, I had a couple of people that would actually write a language pack for an obscure language, which I've never heard of, but it was great to be able to see that kind of support. And again, this is all about the idea of a community. We're helping each other. I would love to see more of these. This is a photo from that first conference that I was able to organize. It kind of came together on its own. I didn't do a whole lot to organize it. But really, meetup events should be more than just every other year we do some big thing at a hotel. You don't need to have a budget of thousands or however much you guys at phpBB is spending on this little event here. One of the things and that's one thing I would like to see happen more, and it's hard because the phpBB community is more spread out than communities of, say, Drupal or WordPress or Joomla, because it is a smaller appeal. But I think it's something that everyone here can attest to. When you actually are able to meet up and chat with each other and be able to have person-to-person communication, there's something special about that can never be replaced with a website. When we had this is my first time to meet any of these guys. You can see me second from left there. And we just sat down and we were able to discuss different ideas for phpBB. And I can remember Adam saying that I think we've talked about more in these 2 hours than we usually talk about on the team forums in a period of 2 months. There's something about being able to sit there and actually be able to interact with people who you already know online, but not in real life. It's a unique experience I think that there needs to be a lot more direct. Just users can create these. It's not that hard. Don't get a big fancy hotel. Do it in parks. WordPress users have done all kinds of these. They do about 50 of these a year. And I would like to see the teams be able to do a little more support of that in the near future. That's something I've been talking about on the podcast. I want to point out a couple of outside the boxers, and a couple of people are here today. A couple of people, none of these I'm not endorsing any of these. phpBB is not endorsing any of these, but I think that these are some good examples of people who have kind of done some other things outside the box to really expand the phpBB community. A lot of you may know this guy. He has a site called phpbhacks.com. It predated the mod database, or whatever predated the mod database. This was the first ever resource for mods and hacks and styles. And I did have a podcast interview with him in early 2008, and we did have an interesting discussion about, yes, they do some things differently from what phpBB does on the mod database, but it still is something that, with no direct affiliation with the phpBB team, still helps to expand the reach of the phpBB community. It's another resource, it's another place, and it does quite a bit. I love his book. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it, about the soft skills of managing a discussion board community. It offers so much advice, and he has a number of other things that he's been doing. He doesn't get any direct benefit out of this from phpBB, but it's a passion that is there, and it's a passion that I think many people who are getting involved with phpBB can share. This was mentioned earlier by Colin. David and Francis, they started a site called Star Trek Guide, but it was supposed to be about Star Trek, but they started getting interested in phpBB 3. phpBB 3 was in beta. It was not meant to be used on a live site, but they started providing support and resources for people who already wanted to get started working with a phpBB 3 code. Before the teams were ready to offer support, people flocked there. People were able to communicate and collaborate and actually start their own community, offering each other support without team involvement on how to be able to make successful mods and styles and just be able to use phpBB. They broke the rule. They do not try this at home. They actually use phpBB3 development versions, all of the snapshots off of CVS in a live environment. And by doing so, they were able to find a lot of bugs that probably would not have been found just in a development test closed environment to send to the bug tracker. Again, they were prepared. They had a lot of stuff on the back end to manage this, but it is another way of being able to really contribute something different to the project. I'm going to embarrass somebody here. John, where are you? Well, I think this actually is something to be said here. Birdie was born in August 2004. Birdie had just turned 6 years old at the beginning of this month. And it really has done something. I think we can all say that the community can rally around Birdie. It's a mascot, but it's also brought together a lot of traditions that have helped to bring us closer together. How many of you acquired a Birdie at this conference? How many of you have more than one Birdie? Why? What is he going to do for you aside from cause trouble? But it's a way of really helping to bring our community close together. I actually really liked, again, going back in the archives, Birdie has helped save lives. Some of you may remember in 2005, actually 2004, there was the big tsunami over on the other side of the globe, and John started a Birdie A 2005 project along with the phpBB teams to solicit donations and offer birdies as kind of an incentive. And it was able to raise 223 pounds, about 430 2004 US dollars, to go to charities to help out with recovery efforts in the tsunami, and donated and prizes for the top donors, as well as the people who came up with the best captions. I love this caption: Birdie the Bear helps their lives, open your wallets and share your fives. That was the top caption. I don't remember who wrote that, but they got a Birdie. So, and there's an example. And again, I'm so sorry for bragging so much, me. But here's why. Why did I start phpBB Weekly? And it's a little more than just I started this for fun. I left, one of the things that I did kind of feel, this wasn't the reason I left the teams, but I was disaffected with the very secretive and we know best nature of the teams as it existed back then. phpBB 2 was active, and this was some darker days of the teams, and very much the community was getting sick and tired of the "it'll be done when it's done" attitude of phpBB 3. We had been hearing this now for 4 years, and there's the secret style that wasn't being talked about, and all these features, and quick reply wasn't going to happen. So I really started this with the idea that I could perhaps try to establish an alternative point of view on the project. No one listened for the first 6 months or so. A couple people started to find it out after some people said, you're probably doing something interesting. But this was kind of a goal that I had in mind. It took a lot of work to get content together. Like I mentioned earlier, I had some unexpected team listenership. Eventually, team members started to support the show. They started to make guest appearances. People started to find out about it. Star Trek Guide was a really big help of this, and David joined the show. And it eventually grew. And people have asked, how can you possibly talk about a bulletin board system for 160 episodes? That's what we're at, 160 episodes. But really, it's worked because we've been able to maintain our focus of taking the community's perspective on the project. And as a result, I really think that we've seen the teams during the course of this. I'm not saying it's entirely thanks to me. It's not. I'm not going to take that much credit for it. The teams did a lot of work too. But we've seen a lot more openness from the teams, and we've seen some of the biggest examples of that here today. 2 years ago in London, someone asked about quick reply, and the response was, "We know where you live. We're coming now." And today we're seeing go submit patches. If the community wants a feature in phpBB and someone submits a patch with that feature in phpBB, even if the developer teams say we don't really want to deal with this, if there's enough support and the code is there, it will go in phpBB. That I think is a big transition. There's a long way to go still, but we're seeing so much more direct connection with the community, and I love that.